Thanks for staying with us. On this segment, we'll be speaking about widowhood, the state of period where a widow in our climb, in the studio with us is somebody who will be sharing her experience as a widow before and after she lost her spouse. Welcome with us, Bimbola Osagie, to the show.
Hi, guys. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on the show. We hardly discuss the plight of widows, especially because there's a life after.
Yeah.
And people just forget that, okay, yes, they are moving on, but there's a lot of emotions, a lot of factors that makes them who they are today. So we'd like you to share with us your story so that people who are listening to you today can learn from your story. But let us start from the before, and then what happened afterwards and how you're coping.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at it. So my name is Bimbola Osagie. I actually live in the UK. I'm a property entrepreneur. My husband passed 2 years ago, so October 2022. We met in university, so I can say he's the husband of my youth. We had such a great relationship. We had a great marriage. We have 4 children.
Wow.
I know.
Wow, in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK, right? We've got 4 children. We had a great relationship. We really had a good marriage. I mean, I don't think anyone would say their marriage is perfect, but we had a good thing going. We understood each other. Our kids were quite young, so we were very hands-on. He was quite hands-on as well. And I think even in terms of where we were financially, I had just stopped working full-time. I was into property as an entrepreneur. He was also an entrepreneur. He worked on his own business, and he also worked in Nigeria as well. So, income-wise, we were good. Children, everything was fine. We were having fun. It was literally at that stage where you feel like, okay, you've left some of the struggles and you're just about to...
And now...
Yeah, you're just waiting for things to just go in a really good dimension. And this was just post-COVID. And one of the things that COVID either broke relationships or made relationships sweeter or stronger. So I think we were one of those where COVID just being together made us stronger. So it was a really good place to be. And then all of a sudden, death snatched Steve away from us. And I use the word snatch because my husband didn't have any ailment. He wasn't sick. He didn't even have a headache, cold. He just went to bed healthy and didn't wake up.
You gotta be kidding us. Really?
No health condition whatsoever in the UK.
So what did they say will cause of death?
Okay, so I'll come to that. So actually what happened was that around the time that he passed, his dad was actually the one in the hospital. He wasn't feeling well. So my husband had gone over to stay with them because dad was in the hospital, mom was going back and forth. It was a bit stressful. So he said to me one Friday, look, let me go, stay with them for the weekend, and I'll come back. So that was it. So he stayed. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he would call in, dad was still in the hospital, about to be discharged. Mom was feeling much better. And we were just waiting for dad to be discharged so my husband can come back home. And then Thursday morning, called him, didn't get hold of him the whole day. And apparently he died on that Thursday, 6th of October, 2022. And so what had happened was he went to bed on Wednesday night. I spoke to him. Mom, his mom was in the house. His mom spoke to him. He went to bed. And then by morning time, mom was wondering why Steve hadn't woken up to check on her. So she went to check on him, and alas, he was gone. Just like that. Well, I didn't know this was happening because I was at home, kids were in school. I was just running around doing my business for the day. I'd called him earlier, didn't know response. So I just thought, it's one of those things. In fact, I was ready for him. I was like, when I speak to him this afternoon, I'm going to tell him off for not picking up the call, blah, blah, blah. Then I remember that, dad, let me call dad in the morning, check that dad was okay in the hospital. I did. I realized that mom had called me. I missed a call. So I thought, let me call mommy back and then I can ask, where is Steve now? I haven't heard from him. So I called mommy and one of his uncles picked up the phone. And the first thing uncle said was, where are you? And I thought that was weird because I expect mommy to pick up the phone. Yeah. I'm looking for Steve. And then uncle is telling me where I was. I'm like, I said, where am I? I'm working. Where's mommy? And then he said, mommy is fine. And then in that moment, I now realized, actually, I was speaking to dad. They said mommy is fine, but nobody has mentioned Steve. So I said, please, where is Steve? And then uncle panicked. I could hear the panic in the phone, and then he dropped. So I called back. So when I called back, he picked up, and he said, where are you? Are you on your way? And now what had happened was I'd never experienced death prior to this, my grandmom, only one grandmom had passed, and it was a long time ago. So I didn't know. But I remember one of my friends told me that when her parents died and they called her, they kept saying, "Where are you? Are you on your way? Where are you?" So I just remember that story, and I thought to myself, this doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I dropped the phone. As soon as I dropped the phone, another call came through, and it was from Steve's cousin that lived in America. And he said, "Hi." He says, "Hey, Bimbo, is it true?"
Oh, okay.
At this point, I've not heard anything. I still don't know what's going on. All I know is, where are you? Is it true? And then people are dropping the phone on me. So I then, in that moment, I was actually in the store. I just thought to myself, something doesn't sound or seem right. So I called my husband's brother, my brother-in-law, who was also based in the States. And I picked up the phone. So I said, "Hi." As soon as he picked up the phone, he was like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Okay, look, guys.
This has got to stop.
This has got to stop. Stop asking me where am I. What is going on?" And I don't know, out of nowhere, I just said to my brother-in-law, "Is Steve okay, or is Steve dead?" I said something that was even out of character for me to say. And in that moment, he said to me, I noticed his voice changed, like he was crying. And then he said, "I don't know, he's not responsive, but he's at home." And then I said, I think that this was when I said, "Oh, is he dead?" He said, "No, I don't know. He's not responsible, but he's at home." So in that moment, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he left in the morning to work. Maybe he got in an accident. Maybe it's in a coma. Like, I'm just thinking all these things that obviously doesn't make sense, but there was nothing making sense really. So when he got off the phone, in fact, I said to him, "Look, I'm going to make my way, but I just don't know what's going on, but I'm going to make my way." So as I got off the phone, I called my mom and my sister. And I said to my sister, in fact, I think I did like a joint call, and I said, "I don't know what's going on. I'm calling Steve. I can't get hold of him. I've called the house. Everyone is asking me where am I, what's going on?" And they said they would come with me. Anyway, this journey that would have been maybe like 40 minutes at the most took, for me, it felt like it took 3 hours, because I'm on the way now. I'm calling my friends. So I called a couple of my friends and said, "God, pray for my Steve. I don't know what's going on." Anyway, got to the place, to the house. As I walked in, the paramedics were there. Steve was already on the floor in a body bag, zipped up to here. All I could see is just his face, and he was on the floor. And the paramedics were like, we gotta go. So apparently he'd been dead probably in the night. So it's been so many hours of them waiting for me to come. I got there and I thought to myself, let me pray for him. So I put my hand on his forehead, and it was ice cold. It was cold. And in that moment, I just thought, wow, like this is what happens when someone dies. So that's how I discovered that my husband passed in his sleep. He was in the house. And then, after the autopsy was done, they did the initial autopsy. They couldn't really find anything. They had to ask our permission to take certain parts of his body to go and do investigation. And then they came back weeks later, and the report still doesn't make sense to me till today, because it still doesn't make sense. There really isn't anything in particular. But one thing that they did say, something pulmonary thrombosis, which doesn't even make sense, because everything in the report doesn't align to the conclusion. I just felt like God called him home. And I think that's how I've made peace with it. Like, God called him home. There was nothing medically wrong with him. But it's very tragic because, like I said, if he was ill, if he had an issue, a condition, it would have been, I don't think it's better, but
brings
yeah,
winding down.
I think so, yeah. But just one day I spoke to him, the next day he was gone.
Right.
And even till tomorrow, sometimes I just sit down and think to myself, like, is this actually true? Like, I just shake my head. I'm like, is this actually true?
How did you navigate that time? What sort of family support did you have? How did you bring the conversation to your children? How was it that period?
Yeah, the hardest thing was to break it to the kids. Fortunately, unfortunately, the day, because of this person that my husband was, he was quite known in the social media space and in the entertainment space. So a blogger picked it up on that day. So before we could even blink and say what's going on, everybody knew, and I was still at my in-laws' house and my kids were home. And I'm thinking that my son had a mobile phone, and I'm like, I need to get home before he sees this thing on social media. So breaking it to them was obviously the worst thing that has happened to me, because even till now, I see I see pictures of me grabbing them as they walk through the door, drag them up to our bedroom upstairs, and they're like, what's going on? Where's God? Where's God? Is Daddy okay? Is Mommy, like, we're just saying, you know, is everybody okay? And they said, oh, is Granddad okay? I said, Granddad is fine, actually. Is Grandma okay? I'm like, Grandma is fine. Oh, so where's Daddy? And just having to tell them that Daddy is not, I said to them, Daddy is not okay, he died. Because I didn't even know how to break it. I didn't know what words to use. I just literally said, Daddy is not okay, he died. Now I have a 4-year-old daughter who probably is thinking, what does that even mean? And I had a 6-year-old. And then the older two were just, 14, 13 actually. In fact, 12, 11, 6 and 4. And when I uttered those words, he died, all I could hear was a loud scream from the older two. They just screamed so loudly, and it was literally the beginning of the end for that was the toughest thing for me, telling the kids.
I know one of the reasons why we invited you to share the story is because widowhood is never easy, especially afterwards, In this, I know you live in the UK, so I'm assuming the system sort of works to support you somewhat. But here, as a widow, a woman always has to have to deal with family issues, inheritance issues, who owns what, drama here and there. Did you have any of that kind of experience on your end, and how were you able to navigate?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say being in the UK makes it any different, because at the end of the day, we're Nigerians. And I think what it is even though we were in the UK, there's the expectation that because we're of Nigerian heritage, we know the custom. So that was actually one of my challenge. I left Nigeria after secondary school. Like literally, as I finished secondary school, my WAEC, maybe like 2 weeks, a month later, I was shipped to the UK. So I actually don't know a lot of the cultural stuff because we're not really raised that way. So even to say, people will say, oh, you don't do this, you don't. I'm like, I don't know. So there's an expectation that I know these things, right? So I think for me, one of so I have to start by saying that my immediate family's husband were really good. They were very protective of me. So there may have been things that happened that they covered for me, and I think that's definitely the case. But even there's certain things, even around how I conducted myself during that time, So one of the biggest one was, I wanted us to do like a celebration of life and wear color, bright and colorful, because my husband is very colorful. And there was this talk, you have to wear black. And when I thought, I don't want to wear black, and I thought they would just leave me alone, it became a big deal in the family. You have to wear black, to the point where I was almost told that I was causing division. I'm like, I'm the widow here, so something like wearing black. And then even the way I conducted myself, I'm naturally a very joyful person. My husband too we're exactly the same. He's louder, but at least we're very bubbly, But so having to, it's almost like I was having to say, do I carry on being myself, being this bubbly person, even though I'm going through this loss, or do I wear a look to satisfy what people and to sit? That was hard.
This kind of conversation, I think something trended on social media, and I know we discussed about grieving and how people expect there's a way you should grieve.
Yeah.
And if you don't grieve the way they expect you to grieve, they look at you like you are not grieving, even though you probably have you're dealing with maybe even much more than any other person that is just experienced the same loss. So I guess that was one of the things you had to combat. Definitely. How to grieve in a way they would accept that you are grieving. Yeah. But I want to ask about the children, because you mentioned breaking the story to them, and many, like Brian said, we really don't talk about widowhood as such. It's something that we just pray. It never happens, though. It never happens, and then we just move on. But what support have you had in raising those children over the past 2 years? And what support would you say would have been more impactful in helping you to navigate that season better?
Yeah. So I have to say I've been so blessed. I cannot lie. I've been so blessed. God has blessed us with such amazing friends and family. So we've had lots of support. Right from the day this happened till even now, people would come, stay over, take my kids to school. My friends organized for them to go on the school bus, paid for it. Another friend organized me to have a staff member to work for me. just so that I can have the headspace to do other things. Food was constant in our home, as in to the point where I had to say to one of my friends, is this usually what happens when somebody loses somebody? They said, no, it's not like that too. You people are just blessed. So my friends, my mom, my sister, my family, my in-laws have been amazing in terms of the support. You know, I have friends where before I pick up the phone to say I need, they are actually dropping their own things. So that for me, it humbles me a lot because they drop their own plans just to accommodate and to suit us. And I think it's a testament to our lives and my husband's life and how he's impacted people. So in terms of support, we've had the best support. I feel like I'm going to put them on blast. The one I wish we could have had more of is, so when I talked to you about when there was a family issue about, oh, we're black, we're this, we're, but where I've had the most challenges, you know, I would have thought that they would give more support. So people are very quick, or extended family, husband's family, are very quick to tell you what to do and what not to do, but I've not seen their brake lights. So, yeah, it seems interesting.
I don't know, can you explain the pain? Do you sometimes go through, like, for example, sometimes do you go through regrets? I would have done this better. Maybe if I was alive, I would have done this. Do you regret some things? Like, do you think back?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned now, I won't call it regrets, so to speak, but I think it's a learning point, is now I appreciate who I have and what I have and every day that I have more. Because the way Steve died, like one day we were okay, next day it was gone. So, and I know that, and also I've heard so many stories after Steve passed, people that are here and the next day their spouses just die, both male and female. So I think one of the things that I'm learning is to appreciate every single day, live in the moment. I'm always very like, oh, what we're doing this tomorrow, we're doing this next week. It's like, now, live in the moment. When it comes to regret, another thing that I remember is this. So before, Steve passed on a Sunday. Sorry, on a Thursday. On the Sunday, he came home from his parents' house because he had to take the kids to football. And when he came, he said, look, I thought I was going to be back home on Sunday, but I think I'm going to need a couple more days with mom. Let me grab my laptop. Let me grab a few things. That particular day when he came, I was on Zoom call. So I was there, you know how it is now, just on Zoom. I was talking. And then when I finished the call, he said he was leaving. I'm like, oh, I thought you were still saying. He said, no, I need to go. Until tomorrow, I still think, wow, I wish I had that time with him. But I also try not to allow that regret to take over me because that's how we lived anyway. We were always on the phone. He was always on the phone because I had lots of businesses. I was always so. But that's something I wish I had more time with.
Here because I always try to understand the UK factor versus Nigeria factor because you have 4 kids. The Nigerian widow is thinking, how am I going to pay school fees? How am I going to sort out my children's welfare? How am I going to just have a family? I don't see their brake lights, and the entire burden is practically on the widow. But for somebody living in the UK, maybe school is free, the kids are getting, you know, the system works such that you don't have to worry about school fees, you don't have to worry about certain things, you know, the system works. How would you say the future is looking when you have 4 kids having to raise them?
So first of all, my kids are actually in fee-paying school, all 4 of them. So I don't have I have the option of free schooling, but that's not what we opted for. So the burden of those fees are still very much on me, 2 years on. Now, what has helped, and this is something that I do so my life was before the death was being a property entrepreneur. So I talk to talk to people generally about income, making money and all that stuff. So one of the things I'm very keyed into is property, having investments. So what has helped is those investments, is all the things that Steve and I had worked together to build. Those are the things that help. But it's still a burden because I always say 2-income household has now become 1-income household. So even when I have friends that are complaining that they don't have money or things are tight, I'm looking at them like, but you have 2 people that can work and make money. It's just one of me. Do you understand? So unless my situation changes, I'm always going to be a 1-income household. So the bills are still there. Source of, you know, living expenses have gone up all over the world. It is still affecting even in the UK. So I don't think that is so much different. Of course, the system works, but those bills, those burden, financial burden, is still there. You know, and unless you have the support from other people, I have to carry, and that's literally my story.
So I'm grateful that you have. You were able to. You're able to tell the story from seemingly a place of healing. Like there's a journey of healing. You're able to tell the story, and I know you wrote a book that is also shedding light on this journey. And what is the impact you want to have with this book? What lessons do you want people to get from this story?
Yeah. So I started to write a journal as my own therapy, right? So I would write what I'm feeling, I write what I'm thinking, and then I was also writing the things that God was telling me. So I'm a Christian, and I very much believe in the Word of God. I very much believe in God, you know. But I find that throughout this journey, I've really seen God work so much to the point where I don't know people that don't have God. I don't know how they cope, you know. So the Word of God that I used to just read. You know, you just read some scriptures and move on. They've become so real to me. You know, the Lord says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will comfort you. I will be the father to the fatherless. I will be your helper, your advocate, your counselor. I will be your provider. All of those things are coming to life in my life. So what I would want to, the story or the message I always want to pass on is, obviously, it's not just the loss of a spouse. It could be loss of a child, of a dream, of identity. It could be any kind of loss, you know, of a parent. It's during those dark moments, it's allowing God to be God in your life. And sometimes it's not just God sending scripture. It can use people. I had lots of people, and if I didn't open my heart or my home to those people, I wouldn't receive the help. Because it's very easy to also close away from people. In fact, sometimes that's what I wanted to do, honestly. And a lot of the time, I just wanted to just stay in my house, close my door, close my window, cry. And sometimes I would have planned it. As in, this is what I'm doing today. When the kids go to school, I'm going to do this. And then God will send somebody. A phone call would come. Somebody will come unexpectedly to my door. And I'm like, oh, God, I just want to cry. But I just also appreciated that God was taking care of me. So God is real. And I feel like he's even more real when you're in your darkest moments. And that's not the time to run away from God. That's the time to run to God. And that's what really the book of my journey has been. It's been very challenging. But I also say, because it will be a lie for me not to say that, even in this time, I've had some really good times as well. I've had some really, really good and positive times where I feel so much loved by God. I feel so much loved by people. I feel so much loved by my family, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know, the burden, so one of the things, I don't know what the future holds, because I'm like, I don't even want to plan anymore, because all the planning that we did, everything just went. But I also am confident in the fact that there's a good future for me. So it makes me excited about every day, despite, you know, and I always say that I use one eye to cry, but I also use one eye to be very alert, because I have 4 children to feed. I have 4 lives in my hands. I have a business. I have people, even as a leader in my church, I have people that are also looking up to me. So it's not going to be all tears, even though that's how I feel. I'm going to allow God to use me.
So how do you cope with not having him to talk to, not having him to rest your head on, and not having him to gossip with? Do you sometimes sit and you feel like maybe he's around? You feel like a presence?
I don't feel the presence.
How do you feel about not having him around you?
So first of all, I'm a woman rapper. I'm a man rapper. I have to just say I'm very much in love with my Steve. Everyone that knew me just Steve. So I like, and I'm a person that likes intimacy, physical touch. You know, I hug, I kiss. I'm always, you know, always doing all sorts of different things. So I miss that so much. And because I miss, and I know that's the kind of person I am, I still say that at the beginning. I started saying it very early on that I am going to marry again. Despite all the side eyes that I get from older ones and younger, even my friends, some of my friends. But I've been telling them, because I'm like, I'm not going to be like this. Because I need that attention. I need that companionship. I need, you know, like, there were just so many things that...
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But the thing is, the truth of the matter is, sometimes people doesn't think it's okay. So most of my close friends now are okay with that. And even if they're not okay, they're not telling me. But we have the ones that tell me, and they say, no, you have to wait 5 years. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And everyone that said that, they're married. So I'm like, you go to your husband, and then you want me to be here and get a hug. So I miss that so much. So much.
So what, like, I mean, we have to wrap up. What's your final message to a new widow who just lost her spouse or his wife and just needs some kind of comfort from you? What would you tell the person?
So first of all, I would say that your need or your desire to have somebody it's okay. It's okay, because we're created to be in relationship. I would say that allow people to help you, because God sometimes is not going to come out from heaven. He's going to use people. So be open to help. I would say, and this doesn't even have to do with widowhood, just even now, everybody that is married, have your own money or know how to make money. Just like we were talking in the earlier, you guys were talking, because a situation might arise where you might find that the breadwinner is gone. How do you get up? You know, so have something. And even if you don't have anything, start now. Because nobody knows what life will throw at us. We need to know how to make our own money. So, and then just know that God, even in the midst of the crisis, God is there and God is present and He loves you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Amazing.
Speaking
Thank you for
with
sharing.
Bimbola Osagie,
Thank you so
sharing
much.
her
Thanks for
story with
having
us. Wishing you the best.
Thank you.
That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.